Tonight, castles are built on Troy's campus.
Plus, students have a chance to show off their fancy footwork for a good cause. Stay tuned. TrojanVision Nightly News starts now.
From the high-definition digital production center on the Troy campus, with news from Troy University locations around the world, this is TrojanVision Nightly News.
Hello and welcome to TrojanVision Nightly News for March 5th, 2014. I'm Jamarlo Phillips.
And I'm Courtney Addison. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Most Troy University students don't have to worry about going hungry. They can simply go to the dining hall for a meal, but there are many in the Troy community that aren't that lucky. And today, Troy students took part in a contest that was both fun and a way to help the hungry.
Troy University organizations had the opportunity to put their building skills to the test as the Office of Learning and Civic Engagement sponsored its third annual Can Castle contest.
We have 18 teams participating for the 2014 crown of Best Can Castle, and all the cans that are used today are going to food banks here locally to address hunger and poverty in our area.
Alabama is the nation's poorest state and the nation's second hungriest state. Here in Pike County, 34% of families and 26% of children live in poverty.
There's a great need that exists here locally, and all this food that has been donated today is going straight into the hands of people that need it here locally.
Student teams brought their collected canned goods to build castles, which would be judged on structure, creativity, theme, and overall appearance. Students involved tells us why they participated.
We're out here because we know that so many people in Troy, about 36% of children are living in poverty, and we don't like that, obviously, and so we're just here to give back to the community that gives so much to our campus.
It doesn't have all the Greek organizations here, but most Greek organizations here, we're participating in a thing where we get a bunch of canned foods and build a castle, and all these canned foods are being donated to families around Troy that are currently in poverty.
The goal of today's contest was to collect at least 5,000 canned goods. The food will go to Troy area food banks and programs.
Troy University is now officially a Tree Campus USA. The school was honored for its conservation efforts at a ceremony this afternoon. The Arbor Day Foundation bestowed the Tree Campus USA distinction on Troy, recognizing its commitment to effective urban forest management. Alabama forestry officials presented Troy with a flag and a Tree Campus USA plaque at today's ceremony. Troy obtained the distinction because it was able to meet the 5 core standards for sustainable campus forestry. Chancellor Hawkins says he's proud of the university's accomplishments and expects this lifestyle to grow.
This campus is known, I think, for its beauty, and it didn't just happen automatically, and it won't just be that way in the future, but through good stewardship, we'll take care of it, and I think continue to add to the beauty and to the environment.
Troy University's Janice Hawkins Park was given as an example of Troy's ability to maintain trees and give them areas to flourish.
15 Troy University students are heading to Panama City for spring break next week, but they aren't going the conventional way. The 15 Brothers of Alpha Tau Omega fraternity will walk the entire 130-mile trip to the beach as a part of their annual Walk Hard fundraiser. This year, the brothers are raising money for Wounded Warrior Project. This is also the largest group to make the trip since it began 4 years ago. The group will start their hike with a send-off ceremony Friday morning at 8:30 on the Bibb Graves Quad. Troy students are invited to attend the ceremony or even cheer them on along their journey.
If you're on the way to Panama City over spring break, you might see us on the side of the road. You can feel free to pull over, talk to us. We'll love to have all the support we can get.
And once again, the Walk Hard send-off will be Friday morning at 8:30 on the Bibb Graves Quad. The group expects to reach Panama City on Wednesday. Well, Courtney, Black History Month may be over, but there are many Troy University fraternities and sororities from celebrating Black history with a popular event on campus.
That's exactly right, Jamarlo. Students had the chance to show off their fancy footwork as part of the annual Black History Month step show last night in the Claudia Crosby Theater. Casey Freeman has the story.
The annual Black History Month step show was held in the Claudia Crosby Theater. Phi Beta Sigma and the National Pan-Hellenic Council hosted the event in order to educate Troy University students about Black History Month.
It's themed celebrating the arts, so we wanted to make it a special hint or a special turn for each team to highlight something in African American history dealing with the arts, music, art, culture.
Troy University fraternities and sororities participated in the step competition. Members from traditionally black and white sororities came together to embrace the diversity of the campus.
We just hope, honestly, that the audience has fun. Our whole show is just directed towards entertaining everybody in the crowd, and we just hope that they can get a good laugh and really get into what we're doing. Our performance is dedicated to the African Americans in the military throughout the years, and so that's really the purpose of everything that we're doing. But all in all, we want the audience to have a good time.
The students had different reasons for coming to the step show. However, they all wanted to expand their cultural awareness.
What I hope people gain from the step shows today, just an appreciation of African American culture, because stepping did originate in Africa.
Hoping to gain some more knowledge on Black History Month and just about step in general and learning all about it.
Troy students showed their excitement in various ways, from participating in the show to supporting one another as a student body.
I've been looking forward to it. We got our tickets in advance and we've been standing out there since like 6:30.
Pretty excited. I want to know, I want to see what's going on tonight, so that's why I bought a ticket to come and support the Sigmas.
Casey Freeman, Troy, Trojan Vision News.
And the winner of the step show last night was Alpha Gamma Delta sorority.
And now taking a look at news from around the state. Out of Montgomery, a bill designed to make sure Alabamians don't take out multiple payday loans has cleared its first vote in the Alabama legislature. The House Financial Service Committee voted today to approve a bill that would set up a database of payday loans in the state banking department.
And Selma's annual Bridge Crossing Jubilee will feature civil rights leader Jesse Jackson, Tony Award-winning entertainer Jennifer Holliday, and others. The annual event commemorates March 7, 1965, when voting right marchers were beaten by law enforcement on Selma's Edmund Pettus Bridge.
And city officials in Montgomery are considering the idea of requiring security guards in bars and nightclubs to be licensed by the state. The city continues to explore ways of regulating private security at clubs. The police chief says requiring security guards to be licensed would make for a safer environment at the night spots.
And still to come on Troy, TrojanVision Nightly News leaders are trying to work out a diplomatic solution to the situation in the Ukraine. We'll have the details and more on coming up after the break.
And plus, the Trojan women's basketball team is in action tonight. We'll have a live preview of tonight's matchup from Danielle Percival in Trojan Arena.
That's right. I'll be joined by head women's basketball coach Shanda Rigby here courtside in Trojan Arena, coming up in sports.
Today is a special day. Today we gather as a nation and as an international community to recognize the selfless decision of one of the most influential women of our time. She's been recognized by religious figures and politicians around the world. To us, she's just Rachel, but to the rest of the world, she is the woman who, after having one too many drinks, chose not to drive home buzzed. Here today to honor Rachel is the family whose lives she spared.
From the high-definition digital production studios of Troy University, you're watching the award-winning TrojanVision Nightly News.
And now for a look at what's happening across the nation and around the world, we go to Jamarlo Phillips at the Global News Desk. Jamarlo?
Thanks, Courtney. The top diplomats from the U.S. and Russia are discussing ways to resolve the crisis in Ukraine. While those talks continue, the U.S. is renewing its call for Russia to send its troops back to their barracks. Craig Boswell reports from the White House.
For the first time since Russian forces took control of Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula, Secretary of State John Kerry held direct one-on-one talks with the Russian foreign minister about the crisis.
All parties agreed today that it is important to try to resolve these issues through dialogue.
The U.S. is pushing Moscow to withdraw forces back to bases in Crimea and open a dialogue with Ukraine's acting government. Secretary Kerry tried to get the two sides together at a meeting in Paris, but it hasn't happened yet.
While the White House attempts to persuade reluctant allies to go along with economic sanctions against Russia, the U.S. is also stepping up its support of NATO allies in the region.
Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel told a Senate panel the U.S. is putting more planes in the Baltics and increasing aviation training with Polish forces. NATO is expanding its involvement with Ukraine's civilian and military leadership and reviewing all NATO cooperation with Russia.
this will send a very clear message to Russia that they must de-escalate tensions.
In eastern Ukraine, pro-Russian activists recaptured an administrative headquarters building, while the tense standoff in Crimea has settled into a waiting game. Craig Boswell for CBS News, the White House.
Frightening video out of Florida caught on camera a dramatic rescue of a mother and her 3 children after their minivan ended up in the ocean. CBS News correspondent Wendy Gillette reports on the rescue from New York.
Witnesses ran into the surf in Daytona Beach, Florida late yesterday afternoon, desperately trying to stop a minivan from driving further into the ocean. Inside, a pregnant mother who was behind the wheel and her 3 young children trapped.
My friend pointed out that there was a car getting really close to the beach and actually started driving on the water, and I saw a little kid in the back like waving his arms around, like screaming, "Help, help us," and then the car kept going deeper.
You can see the mother walking away from the minivan after rescuers got her out. A tourist shot this video from the beach. It shows 2 of the children being carried out of the water away from the vehicle. And then rescuers pluck the remaining child from the open trunk, moments before a huge wave crashes over the top of the minivan. Investigators are trying to figure out how and why the vehicle ended up in the water, but witnesses say it appeared deliberate.
When the bystanders went to help, she clearly went deeper into the ocean, much deeper into the ocean. She drove right towards it and faster. So it seems hard to believe that that was accidental.
The family is from South Carolina, the 3 children all under the age of 10. They were taken to a local hospital for treatment of minor injuries. Wendy Gillette for CBS News.
There is yet another deep freeze over the northern states, and long after the mercury rises, the economy will still be feeling chills. Alexis Christoforous adds up the cost of a long, cold winter.
Take a ESV, the extended length.
John Bruno has been selling cars in New York City for 14 years. He says he's never seen winter weather put such a deep freeze on business.
Sales have been down significantly over the past few months for the simple fact that people just don't want to brave the weather.
A string of snowstorms shut down Bruno's auto dealership for 5 days, and sales are down as much as 50%.
The auto industry isn't the only one getting the cold shoulder. The harsh winter weather is keeping shoppers at home, and according to one estimate, has cost the economy $50 billion.
Home sales plunged in January to the lowest level in a year and a half. Airlines and passengers lost billions on canceled flights. Business dipped about 1% at restaurants. And other than winter supplies, retailers saw the biggest sales drop in nearly 2 years. Shoppers say they'd rather just stay home.
I don't want to shop. I don't really want to do anything because it's just so cold.
Fred Fox analyzes the weather's impact on the economy. He's worried consumers will cut back even more when they get a look at their next heating bill.
Those heating bills are going to be some of the highest bills they've seen in years, maybe ever. And as a result, it's just going to take money out of their pocket from spending.
John Bruno thinks car shoppers will be back once spring has finally sprung. Alexis Christoforous, CBS News, New York.
And that wraps things up here from the Global News Desk. To see more stories from across the country and around the world, you can tune in to TrojanVision Global News right after Nightly News. Now back to you, Courtney.
Thanks to Marla. Now Amy Austin joins us with sports. So Amy, there's lots of action going on in the sports department. The baseball team was actually in action last night. How did that game turn out for them?
Well, Courtney, that's right. The baseball team was in action, but it didn't turn out how fans or the team hoped. But I'll get into that right now in sports. The Troy baseball team hosted Sanford in a midweek game, but the ending wasn't what the Trojans were looking for.
Starting off strong, but coming up just short. The Troy University baseball team took on Sanford University in the first home midweek game and lost 11-9.
Really like the way we started this game. Yeah, we've been working on some things that looked like they were going to, come alive for us, and I can't remember one like this in my career. That's tough to get out to a 7-0 lead and watch it evaporate, and the other team to come back and take a lead on you.
Troy took the lead in the bottom of the first 7-0. The Bulldogs then slowly chipped away at the lead until they took the game in the 7th and secured it in the 9th.
It is baseball. It's a cruel game at times. Right now it's beating us up a little bit. We're going to have to be tough enough to respond to that and, go back and get some things done in practice, maybe shift a few things around in the lineup. just to get a little bit more offensive production.
With one last non-conference series this weekend before heading into conference play, Coach Pierce knows just what his team needs to improve on.
We're just going to have to improve overall. There was a lot of things. There was a lot of 1-2 pitches that were left up that they got some base hits on, and the list goes on and on with things that we can get better at. So we'll start and try to improve those things and see if we can turn these type of games around into our favor.
The baseball team will be in action this weekend at home as they take on New Orleans. First pitch will be Friday night at 6. And the softball team is coming off of a 4-1 weekend at the Eagle Classic, heading into their first midweek game. Troy headed to Georgia Tech to take on the Yellow Jackets this afternoon. Georgia Tech scored 1 run in the bottom of the second off a solo homer. Troy tied the game in the top of the fourth off a single by Ebony Wright. Georgia Tech picked up another run in the bottom of the fifth and regained the lead. Georgia Tech then defeated Troy with the final from Atlanta being 2-1. The softball team will head to Orlando to take on Bowling Green on Friday with first pitch at 10 a.m. And while postseason is still a ways away for the Trojan softball team, that's not true of the Trojan women's basketball team, which is 2 games away from the Sun Belt Conference tournament. The first of which is tonight against UT Arlington in Trojan Arena, where Danielle Percival joins us live. Danielle, this is a team the Trojans didn't have trouble with earlier in the season.
Well, that's right, Amy. The Trojans cruised to a victory in Arlington back in January, 85-62. We'll look to do the same tonight. I'm joined on the court now by head coach Shanda Rigby, whose team is riding a 5-game home winning streak and looking to extend that tonight. Coach, what's it going to take for your team to get things done against the Mavericks tonight?
Well, we have to keep the ball out of the post players' hands. They have some of the best post players in the Sun Belt Conference, and if we let them touch the ball all night, either through pass entry or through rebounding, we're going to be in trouble. We need our guards to pressure their guards so they can't quarterback it in there.
Well, and of course, you've got a big player in Joanna Harden. Are you expecting a big night out of her?
We need a big night out of Joanna. We talked about it today. She only has 2 games left in Trojan Arena. This is such a special place for her, and she wants to go out with a bang.
Well, you mentioned it, just 2 games left, and your team received news over the weekend that you will be heading to the conference tournament in New Orleans, but now it's all about seeding. So how big are these final 2 contests?
These are huge because the higher up in the rankings you go, the better seedings you get, of course, and you get better playing times, you get better practice times. You don't have to get up at 6 a.m. and get to the gym and practice, that kind of thing. So we want to get as high as we can, not only for the seedings, but to represent Troy University.
Well, Coach, it's been an exciting season. I wouldn't expect any different for the last 2 games. Thanks so much for your time and best of luck this evening.
Thank you.
Of course, the women will be on the court at 7 o'clock tonight for tip-off against the Mavericks. But that's all here from Trojan Arena. Now, back to you, Amy.
Thanks, Danielle. But there's still another opportunity for Trojan fans to see the women in action if they can't make it out tonight, right?
Well, that's right. If it doesn't fit in your schedule to come out tonight, there is one more opportunity, as Coach Rigby mentioned. That will be on Saturday, which will be the final regular season game. That will be tip-off at 5 o'clock in Trojan Arena against Texas State. That will, of course, be senior night, so you'll want to make sure that you schedule in time to get here in time to see all of those festivities as well. Amy?
Thanks again, Danielle. And tonight is the beginning of a busy week in Trojan Arena. In addition to tonight's women's game, the men will play UT Arlington Thursday night at 7 in Trojan Arena. The men will be fighting to hold on to their 8th place position in the conference, which will get them into the Sun Belt tournament. So, Jamarlo, Courtney, lots of athletics going on. Fans need to get out there tonight and support those women and, get that higher seed in the tournament.
Absolutely. It always means so much to the athletes to look up in the stand and see to have so many people supporting them. So hopefully every student can kind of make arrangements to get out there and support the Trojans. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
All right, and still to come on TrojanVision Nightly News, we'll head back to Trojan Arena where Danielle will have a look ahead to the Troy University Sports Hall of Fame ceremony.
But first, cooler temperatures have stuck around the past few days, but the rain seems to have exited our area. Can we put away our umbrellas and rain boots just yet? Haley?
Well, Courtney, you might not want to put them back in your closets because you will need them as soon as tomorrow. I'll get more into that and weather.
I have fallen in love with social work, and I think I finally found my niche and what I'm good at and what I can go far in life.
As soon as I started athletic training, I fell in love with it.
Troy University's College of Health and Human Services prepares students for high-demand careers of today and tomorrow. Careers offering attractive pay and the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of others.
My courses aren't just classwork. I've worked with the Department of Human Resources to put my skills to work with helping people.
with bachelor's and advanced degrees in athletic training, sport and fitness management, nursing, human services, rehabilitation and social work, health education, and physical education. All of Troy's College of Health and Human Services programs are nationally accredited, and our helpful faculty is dedicated to quality and student success.
As long as you're willing to do the work, they're willing to sacrifice their time and effort to make sure that you get to your goal.
We change the world. Come join us.
Contact Troy University, where we educate the mind to think, the heart to feel, and the body to act.
From the high-definition digital production studios of Troy University, you're watching the award-winning TrojanVision Nightly News.
And now Haley Greathouse joins us with weather.
Well, Haley, this week we've seen cooler temperatures, you know, going into the weekend and going into spring break, what can we expect?
Well, as you've seen today, those cooler temperatures did start out this morning, but as we got on into the later of the day, it got warmer. I'll get into that now. Taking a look at our current conditions, you can see that the skies are fair. The temperature is at 61 degrees, dew points at 43 degrees, humidity is at 52%, barometer is coming in at 30.03 inches and steady, and winds are coming in from the east at 7 miles per hour. Taking a look at today's statistics, the high was 61, the low was 45, and we had about 0.06 inches of rain. Taking a look at temperatures across the United States, or across Alabama, you can see Montgomery comes in at 62, Troy's in 61, Phoenix City 57, Dothan also at 57, Mobile coming in at 56, Birmingham 62, and Huntsville at 58. As we look across the United States, you can see that we are experiencing warmer weather in the south and in other parts of the United States, but we still haven't seen those temperatures that are normal for this time of year. As we look closer into the southeast, you can see that we're having about 60-degree temperature in Alabama, some in the upper 50s. Over in Georgia, they are getting lower temperatures, and it just keeps getting lower. But in Florida, for next week, those temperatures are higher in Florida, so that's great for all of those Trojans that are going on spring break. Going into our current surface map, you can see that we do have some stationary fronts sitting above and below the southeast. Taking a little closer look at that, there's a station in Florida, a couple low pressure systems sitting out in the Gulf and in the Pacific. Going into our precipitation forecast for the next 48 hours, you can see that we will be getting rain in Alabama, in the whole southeast actually. Taking a closer look, or taking a look at Thursday, we will be getting rain for our area. That rain is going to continue into Friday for Troy. But as we go into Saturday, that rain's pushing through and it's going to get out of our area. And Sunday, we will also have clear on our side of Alabama. So watch out if you're traveling at the end of this week. Don't get caught in that weather. Taking a look at tonight's forecast, we have an 80% chance of rain. Winds coming from the east at 5 to 10 miles per hour with a low of 46 degrees. Taking a look at tomorrow's forecast, we have a 100% chance of showers. Those winds are coming from the east at 10 to 15 miles per hour. That's going to be some dangerous conditions when you get out there. So be careful if you're a commuter, if you're driving to work, if you're driving to school, wherever you're going. Just be really careful in that rain and high winds. The high tomorrow will be 47 degrees. Taking a look at our 4-day forecast. As we go into Thursday, it's going to be raining with a 100% chance. The high Thursday is supposed to get to 47 degrees. Once again, there will be high winds that day, so be very careful if you're getting out. That night, there's also going to be a 100% chance of rain with a 39-degree low. Friday, we're going to have about 20% chance of rain, a high of 53 degrees. That night, it's going to be partly cloudy with a low of 41 degrees, so that low is getting a little bit warmer. And as we go into Saturday, the warmth keeps coming with a sunny Saturday with a 70-degree high. That night, it's going to be mostly cloudy with a 48-degree low. Sunday is going to be rainy, about a 20% chance of rain. Courtney Jamarlo with a high of 69 degrees. So as you're traveling for spring break, definitely be careful because there will be that wind, or the wind and the rain in the area.
Okay. All right, Haley. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Haley. And now we head back out to Trojan Arena, where Danielle has Troy Director of Athletics John Hartwell standing by to talk about some upcoming events in Trojan Athletics. Danielle?
Well, that's right, Courtney. Later on this month, Troy University's Trojan Arena will be transformed from a state-of-the-art basketball facility to the site of the 3rd annual Troy University Sports Hall of Fame. And joining me now on the court to discuss everything coming up in Troy Athletics is Director of Athletics John Hartwell. John, thanks so much for making time to stop by today.
Sure, Danielle. Great to be here, and you're exactly right. over the next 3.5 weeks, we have a whole lot going on in Troy athletics, certainly highlighted by the weekend of March 29th and the third Hall of Fame class induction, which will be right here on the floor of Trojan Arena.
Well, it's certainly a big weekend, not just with the Hall of Fame, but across the board. There is going to be a lot going on. Trojan fans aren't going to want to miss being on campus for this one.
No, they won't. 8 special inductees into our Hall of Fame. You know, a lot of great history in Troy athletics, and certainly probably the name that pops off the page to folks, Osi Yomanura, football great, current Atlanta Falcon, will be here. I know some of our staff is very excited. A lot of our viewers out there may not know this, but he is married to, I don't guess you're a former Miss World. Once you become Miss World, you're Miss World, but she will also be here in attendance as well. So we're looking forward. A big weekend. Obviously, we've also got our spring T-Day game. That's Saturday morning, a lot going on campus-wise, the long haul dedication Friday afternoon, softball here that weekend, so a huge weekend, not only in Troy athletics, but in Troy University, you know, probably the biggest weekend of the spring.
Absolutely, one of the biggest, but this weekend comes pretty close. It's another big weekend on campus with baseball in town, but also both basketball teams wrapping up the schedule, and these 2 games are going to be very crucial coming down to the wire.
They are huge, and it really starts tonight with the women playing here against Texas Arlington. Tomorrow night, the men at 7 o'clock against Texas Arlington, and then both senior days on Saturday against Texas State. The women have already clinched their spot in the conference tournament, although they are playing for seeding right now, and certainly that seeding is important as you look at the teams you may or may not want to face to start in New Orleans. And the men right now sitting in 8th place as well. They still have a little work to do. Need a combination of any 2. That would be 2 losses by Texas State, 1 loss by Texas State, a win by us. Certainly we'd like to take care of business tomorrow night, but we're very excited about the direction both our men's and women's basketball programs are going in. Certainly still new staffs. I know Coach Shanda Rigby almost 2 years in now. Phil Cunningham nearing the end of his first year. But if you look at the play of both of these teams, say over the last 3 or 4 weeks, you really see a lot of improvement. We're excited. You know, certainly March basketball is here. It's exciting, and you live to play another day. So let's hope for a couple of wins, both by our men and women coming down the stretch. And then, as you mentioned, baseball also this weekend. UNO coming to town. Start with Friday night game at 6. Followed by Saturday at 1 and Sunday at 1 again. Hopefully Mother Nature will cooperate. So far our baseball weather has been more December-like than March-like, but hopefully we'll get into the 70s and it'll be sunny this weekend.
Well, with basketball throughout the week and then baseball coming up this weekend, big time. But of course, with the basketball teams wrapping up the schedule, the conference tournament is just ahead. How can fans get involved with trying to make the trip with the teams as well? Of course, you want to see them out here supporting the team in their journey trying to get to New Orleans, but what about making the trip themselves?
Well, Danielle, I can give you the best of both worlds, because starting with tonight's game, tomorrow night's men's game, and then both men's and women's game on Saturday, we've got some promotional efforts where in each of those games we are going to give away 10 tournament books. I think we're going to do it in pairs, so 5 sets of pairs to the conference tournament. Next weekend starts Wednesday in New Orleans. Lakefront Arena should be a very exciting time. If you don't happen to win one of those 4 or a pair of those 40 books being given away, certainly call our ticket office or go to TroyTrojans.com and you can order tickets online there.
Well, John, we're looking forward to it. Hope for a big crowd turnout for tonight's game as well as tomorrow night. Thanks so much for stopping by and giving us all the information about what's coming up in Troy athletics.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much. And yes, as you said, we hope to see big crowds out throughout the weekend.
Thanks so much, John.
Thank you.
Of course, just a reminder, the women will be taking the court tonight at 7 o'clock to take on UT Arlington. Then on Saturday, as we mentioned, both teams will be in action for senior night. So make your plans to get out to Trojan Arena and do what you can to help cheer on the team and maybe even get a chance to go to New Orleans yourself. I'm Danielle Percival here from Trojan Arena. We'll toss it back to you at the news desk.
All right, thank you, Danielle. And again, good luck to the Troy women's basketball team as they are in action tonight. And that's all the time we have here for TrojanVision Nightly News. For all of us here at TrojanVision, thanks for joining us.
And tune in again tomorrow night for our news, sports, and weather. Have a great night.